Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another feature piece. I'm Andy, and today with me, I have Mike Hess himself from Mike Hess Brewing here in San Diego. Now, many of you already know Mike Hess Brewing. You know the brand. You've been to one of the locations throughout the county of San Diego, and you've probably already heard a lot about Hessfest for all of the years that Hessfest has been around. And it's changed locations, and now it's in Imperial Beach, and it used to be in North Park. But it's a great way to bring together family, friends, the community for an awesome music festival to raise money for great causes. And so today, I'm honored to have you in the studio, Mike. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I know that, every year Hessfest it grows in its lore. And I am now this is going to be my third Hessfest. So okay. Hessfest 15 will be my third. My first one was Hessfest 13 and then 14 and now this year coming up. I'm really excited. I have the honor and the privilege of being on the media team for your brand.
Yep.
And I'm very excited about that. It is very rewarding for myself and also everyone else on my team to be a part of that, especially because of the philanthropic element that we do during Hessfest. So for us, it's really fun. I also think it's unique and it's very important. So thank you for doing Hessfest and thank you for having us along for the ride.
No, you're welcome. We're glad to have you. And I think that philanthropic element, I think, is an important part for why a lot of people love to come out to Hessfest. When we have surveyed our guests afterwards, we ask them how important is it to you that we donate 100% of the net proceeds, and did you know about that before buying tickets? And overwhelmingly, the answer is yes on both of those.
Yeah, and I think that, and I'm not sure how broadly it's talked about, but from my even personal experience in doing nonprofit efforts and working in things around town, and our family having our own as well, San Diego's a really philanthropic town. If you didn't know that, it actually is. I'm not sure if maybe your personal experience has been that way the entire time since you started Hessfest, or it's just kind of evolved over time. But how's that been received on your end?
Well, we've always had the philanthropic part of Hessfest as part of Hessfest, like even going back to like Anno Unum, which is before we called it Hessfest. It was like first year anniversary and Anno Duo and so on. For the first several years, we did the Anno Latin name things to go in with the beer names, which is how we used to do the branding. But even at that, at the first FAC Friday Afternoon Club or Anno Unum, we raised money. We raised money for a kid like $500 so he could help offset the cost of like one of those fancy racing wheelchair type things. The kid that had CP. So, we've always been used or always had that philanthropic edge to make Hessfest different. And I think that we as breweries have this awesome ability to gather up community and find like-minded people or people who can rally around a cause or causes. And, our thing has always been basically kids, dogs, and vets. And those are three things that I think that are not controversial, but they're also super important. And you can do many different things in those avenues. And then because of Keely with her cancer diagnosis back in 2018, that really, crystallized how we were going to help kids in particular to work on pediatric cancer in some way, whether it was on the aspect of funding research to find better cures or therapies or treatments, or the mental health side, which is what we're doing this year with Oncology in kids, because that's purely mental health. And that's been an interesting transition, I think, for our brand also, or maybe it's just for me personally and just, being able to share that story with our team, is that early on, 2018, 2019, when we first had this idea of making pediatric cancer kind of a focus for the brand, I thought it was only important to work on the cure side, because Keely was going through treatment at the time, and she was doing, for osteosarcoma, bone cancer, the same exact treatment that had been in place for 30 years. Literally nothing had changed. No new drugs, no new therapies, no new treatments. The only thing that had moved in the schedule was in 18 rounds of chemo was where they did the amputation of the limb that was affected, which is horrible, obviously. So in her case, it was after 6 rounds of chemo and then amputation and then 12 more rounds of chemo. And I was like, we got to fix this. And so we did a lot of early on, the first few years of Hessfest and just other fundraisers at the brewery, like the Beat Cancer beer that we did, was to raise money for research and try and find something better. It's only been after that now that we're downstream with Keely 6.5 years or so in remission, that we have seen that the mental health aspect and those groups like what Oak are doing are super important. It was very hard for our family. The whole thing was hard, but post-cancer, the hardest thing was not worrying necessarily about the cancer coming back. It was worrying about Keely taking her own life. Like, she's like, I'm just going to kill myself. And I'd be like, bro, what? Like, we just got you through this terrible, terrible treatment ordeal. You pulled through. You gathered up the strength and had the intestinal fortitude to go through all that crap, and it's a lot. And now you're going to check out. Like, no, you can't do that. And so we've seen how important the mental health is downstream for survivors of pediatric cancer. In fact, I just got some numbers from the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation that kids, and particularly males, but kids who go through pediatric cancer have a 2x suicidality rate versus their peer group, which is a lot. And so, hence, we've partnered up with Oak, and we think that we know what they're doing is important. We've seen the results of it firsthand.
Wow, that I did not know that it was that much of a issue. Is that because it's just not widely talked about, or is it that people? I mean, how far upstream do you have to go? Is it that they don't admit that there is that thought going in their mind, or is it they're admitting it and then they say it, but then it doesn't get into the public, so the public doesn't know that people are struggling with their whether they should continue living or not?
I mean, I think it's the latter, because I mean, I'm in the world of being a parent of a cancer survivor, and I'd never heard of it. I never really thought of it until actually it was last year around this time when we were talking about raising money for veterans' mental health and trying to raise money for organizations that are helping veterans who are going through the same sort of thing. That in my mind, as I was actually driving to do a TV hit, I was running around the two scenarios of, like, okay, the people that we're seeing in the veteran community who are taking their own lives. Why are they doing that? You listen to a lot of podcasts and hearing veterans talk about their friends who have killed themselves and what they were struggling with. And it came to me that, like, essentially the two groups of people are dealing with the same sort of issues, which we can talk about. But and I had seen it firsthand with Keely, like this. Why is she talking about it even? Right? Why would you go through all of that, fight for your life, like brutal, and then come out and say, I'm just going to kill myself after all? And so that's when I started thinking, like, I'm going to look into it. And so I reached out to NPCF. They have great resources out there. I reached out to a guy named Chris Geib, who we work with for our Beer Rising Hope that we do during National Pediatric Cancer Month. And he was able to put me in touch with a gal who had all the stats. And I like you, I was surprised. I'd never heard of it, that was a thing.
So does it get summarized as survivor's guilt? Is that what's happening? Or is it like that's one aspect of it, and then it's also some other things?
Well, it's a PTSD driven issue, right? Survivor's guilt is definitely part of it. I think that all feeds into the whole post-traumatic. I mean, if you look at the commonality between the two groups, right? Veterans and kids with cancer, it first of all, they're fighting a war they didn't want to be in most cases, right? I mean, certainly no kid wants cancer. And there are some guys who like to go and fight, but you talk to guys who have been in the fight, they come back, they say, I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Many of them have lost limbs. Many of them have lost friends. A lot of them look back on it and say, what was that all about? Right? And we've seen that's a huge part of what's going on in the veteran community, because they're like, we just fought 20 plus years, and now what? Now we're funding the Taliban again. And what in the world? Why did we do all that? Why did my buddies die so that we just go back to, the way things were?
Yeah.
And the kids are seeing that the same thing, right? So again, they have all that commonality through that, and they look back and say, what was that all about? And there's, again, survivor guilt and all that other stuff feeds into it, and they mentally check out.
So, I've on the outside looking in, I'll say, because of my participation with Hessfest and also working alongside the team for the brand, every time I've seen her or interacted with her, she's always joyful, and she always seems so happy, and she's always just upbeat and energetic.
Yeah.
How long did it take for her to go from the way you're describing of not wanting to continue living to the person that I'm telling you I run into when I run into her doing stuff around town?
Well, she always had bright moments, immediately, I would say, post-treatment. But it was honestly, it was at least 2 years before I felt that we were kind of out of the wood, where even if she said, I'm going to go kill myself, we knew that she was just saying it not with serious intent. But the first couple of years when she said that, like, we actually were very worried about it. And that's a terrible thing as a parent, right? It's a terrible thing to worry about your kids when they're sick, let alone when they have cancer, let alone when they say we're going to kill ourselves. So, but now, and I would say that every year that we're further downstream, she's better. But there's still setbacks, which is really terrible in this community, because an example of that would be like this. Keely has met many friends in this same club, if you will, right? This club of cancer.
Yeah.
And some of those kids never made it, through. They passed. Some of them went into remission, and then their cancer came back, and some of those kids have died. And that happens even recently. We just had a friend whose son passed 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
but it's particularly if it's somebody that Keely was close with, and she did have a friend who died of a third recurrent osteosarcoma, maybe a year ago, and she's going to get depressed. I mean, we all get sad when we lose our friends, and when you lose a friend who you've been like insanely close to because they have the same condition as you, and then theirs comes back, it's very traumatic.
Yeah, that there's there's a lot of weight attached to that.
100%.
Yeah. And I certainly don't mean to put words in your mouth either, but like, the survivor's guilt thing was coming to mind because, and I don't know, again, I don't know if that's the way she thought too, but it's like, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why? Because there's certain circumstances where even as an adult, I look back and go, shoot, that could have been me and it wasn't. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And then there's times where I'm like, man, why couldn't it have been me instead of that person? Like, I get that. And I think maybe it's more acceptable to talk about these things now than it has been in even recent history, the last 5, 10, 15 years. I think the conversation of mental health has definitely been heightened and got a lot more amplification and visibility in a good way. And I think that things like this are critical because, like you were mentioning a minute ago, it's one thing, okay, for this to like show up at your front door and be now part of your life. And then the initial intent is, okay, let's go find this cure.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go try to figure out a way to create a better treatment plan or treatment solution because we've been doing the same thing for 30 years.
Yeah.
But then it's like, that's not it. That's not all of it. There's this other part too.
Yeah.
That I'm really glad that this is becoming more of the conversation as well, and not just that cure part. And I know that from our work in veteran space and in around active duty and veterans a lot, I've been very fortunate to be invited into rooms that I did not earn my way into, to meet with people and listen to them and talk to them about their own personal struggles of, living a life of service, now wearing civilian clothes and not just wearing their uniform anymore.
Right.
And there's a great weight that can come along with that. Now, I did not live that, but I have met a number of men who I respect who don't anymore, but had struggled with, how do I repurpose my life towards a cause or to a level of worth living that I will be acceptable of and pleased with.
Right.
So I think it's super cool that Hessfest now stands for this on both sides of the same issue, two different root causes: cancer on one side and service on military service on the other.
Very similar people groups dealing with in terms of what their issues are, what they're dealing with.
Yeah. So for you and for Linda, how did you two how did you navigate that season of life? I mean, you're running this business. You are already having this philanthropic arm to what you do, and you care about the community. You care about the people in your team and the community at large, and the patrons that are coming to experience Mike Hess Brewing. So how did you juggle all that stuff at the same time? That seems daunting to me. Yeah. I don't have that happening in my life. And as you're talking about this, I'm sitting here thinking, what the heck was that like as a husband, as a dad, as a business owner? That's a lot going on at once.
It's a lot going on. My buddy Court, who we named our son after, he was like, well, the only way through it is through, right? You just gotta just knuckle down and just and push through. But it was difficult from a parenting standpoint, for sure, and we can talk about that all day long. From a business standpoint, it was made lighter, our load, by the fact that we had really great people who who we care for deeply, and they know that we care for them, like our teammates, and who in most cases knew all the kids. You know, they knew Annalise, Keeley, and Court. They had seen them because they all grew up in the brewery. I mean, when we started the brewery in 2010, the kids were 6, 4, and 2,
Yeah.
right? You know, they were babies. And so what was actually very remarkable, I think, from a business owner standpoint, as a human, from a human standpoint, is that, you know, I told the guys, which include my brother Greg and Jason and Chris, and a fellow named Ryan who doesn't work for us anymore. But I said, look, Linda's out 100%. She's going to be, you cannot, like, she's 100% focused on Keeley. She's stayed every night in the hospital with her and was traveling with her and doing all that stuff. I'm not going to be here very much either. I'm going to be here as much as I can be, but I've got 2 other kids at home that I need to take care of and make sure that they're fed and go to school and loved on. So don't screw it up. Right. And that was enough. Like, they were like, we got it. And so they all stepped up. What I also find really amazing was that, for example, Paul Darris, who's our lead brewer, came to me in December or January of 18-19 and with the idea of doing the Beat Cancer beer. Like, that was 100% him, or him and whoever he talked to, but he's the one that brought it to me. It wasn't me saying, hey, we should do something. He's like, hey, we got this idea to do this beer with beets in it, and we can do a beer called, like, Beat Cancer, and we can raise money. And I don't actually remember who the beneficiary was of it at the time, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. Oh, you know what? Actually, I remember what it was. He's, we can donate some money to somebody. And that's when I started asking my nurses, well, Keeley's nurses, really, but I'm in the room and I'm like, hey, who out there is doing research? Like, do you know of any organizations, any foundations, any whatever that are working on osteo or working in pediatric cancer? And that's how we found a few of them. And they put me in touch with those organizations. And I said, hey, do you have any problem with me naming you as the beneficiary of this beer that we're doing? And that's really when we started this whole ball of, let's start fundraising for pediatric cancer research. Was one of my guys who brought it to me. I mean, I feel like tearing up about it. It's amazing that your people that you have working on your team care so much about the family, that they would do that. And that was really amazing.
It means a lot to you, huh?
Oh yeah. Super special.
You know, I think things like that too, it seems almost too light for me to say it's good for morale. Because it's also at the expense of her experience, right? But those things can really bring people together for a cause outside themselves, which, you know, we've experienced here at our own company too.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does bring out the best in the people that's underneath the surface of what we normally expect them to show up and do every day at their job. And what they do and their commitment to the team and their attitude and their character. But it really reveals something very special and unique about the team and the individuals on the team when they get to put their best foot forward for more than the bottom dollar, as they say in business, right?
For sure.
And, you know, obviously you're saying it's important to you. It obviously is important to you, but I see it when I'm at Hessfest. I see everyone just engaged and having fun, but being professional and really understanding the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that's so cool because, you know, San Diego, there's so many cool things that happen in town. And a lot of them have philanthropic attachments to them or root causes. But there's just something so unique and cool about Hessfest. And I just want to talk about that for a couple minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I just want to address this thing about the team, though. I think that what you see and you can feel when you come into our locations or when you're on the grounds at Hessfest, everybody on the team buys into that purpose, right? We ask people about it in the interview, but what's really amazing is that, like, for example, last month I was in OB. We just hired a new fella to work in OB, and I just said, you know, why us? You know, there's 100 plus other breweries here. You know, why did you want to work here? You know, is it just because you live next door, or you know, is it convenient? And
I could roll out of bed and be at work in 2 minutes.
Exactly. Take my skateboard here and I'm good. And he's like, I really like what you guys are doing in like I love the philanthropic aspect of what you guys do. Like I think that like having a purpose more than just making great beer or more than just good hospitality or more than the food, the great food that we serve is important. So to your point, it's like there's lots of places you can go work. There's lots of jobs you can do. There are lots of other organizations that are involved in philanthropy, but these particular issues strike a nerve with some people, and that. So if you talk to people on the team, they all know what's going on. They all know what we're all about. It's we're very out about it, and it really resonates.
Yeah, no, it's obvious. I mean, it's more than just everyone knows their role and everyone, they're deeply committed to the causes at hand,
For sure.
Not just the product development and the product getting onto the shelves and getting out to all the tasting rooms and all that. I mean, they're devoted. I guess that's the word I would use. They're real devoted to what's happening.
It's a source of pride because they know that they're part of this machine, if you will. It's just really doing a good work.
Yeah, well, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I say this in a lot of other conversations, completely outside the context of you and I sitting here right now. Is like in some places they're just a machine and that's all it is, and you're just a cog in the machine, and the machine's going to get what the machine wants at your expense too, and you're not going to get any help. They're not going to come help save you on a hard. And so the fact that it is definitely way more than a machine, I think, is also what draws people to participate on the, I'll say, social level as well.
Yeah.
The community. I mean, I've now, again, having been at previous Hessfest working the cameras and getting great content for the brand and for the day, I see like faces on my footage again. Oh, they were there the year before. Oh, they were there too. Oh, I know those people now.
Yeah.
And it's become now something where people are having their own like Hessfest experience. And that's super cool. For those people who don't know about Hessfest now being in Imperial Beach, take us back real quick. It wasn't in Imperial Beach. Right. It wasn't even originally called that. So when did it become Hessfest? And where did it start? How long was it there? How did we get to Imperial Beach?
Okay, so I don't know when the first year was that we did Hessfest. I know it went back to at least 6 because I have a shirt from Hessfest 6.
Back to your shirt drawer.
Yeah, exactly.
With all your t-shirts.
And it's interesting because the art has changed. I actually, the other day, I laid out all the shirts that I have. So I got Hessfest 6 to Hessfest 14 shirts, and I was seeing if I had any gaps and multiples and what like that. And the, Court Patton has been doing all of our art since the beginning. And his style, or the way he's designed the shirts anyway, has certainly changed, right? Because in Hessfest 6 was line drawing. But yeah, to your question, it started out back, in let's say 2015 or 16 when we had that festival. We had moved into North Park and we opened up in 2013. I'm sure that we did a festival in probably 2014, and back then this was kind of the height of the craft beer boom. We were adding 20-30 breweries a year seemingly at this period of time.
That's crazy
in San Diego. Yeah, it was been considering that we were the 33rd brewery in San Diego overall, and then we were now adding like 20 plus breweries a year. It was the hockey stick of growth was just bananas at the time.
That was really that's the stat.
Yes.
Holy crap! I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, I know that's like petered off and tapered off and leveled out and then tapered off, and it's definitely not what it was.
Now we're definitely in the I don't even think we're break even in terms of closures versus openings, but it's healthy. It's just a sign of a maturing industry. That it was. I mean, we were the shiny new penny in 2010, right? And there was a lot of shiny new pennies for many years as we went from essentially, let's say again, we were 33rd to 160 over the course of like the next 7 years.
Jeez, right? That's insane.
It was crazy. Anyway.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So back then though, it was just, it was beer festival. That was like what you did. If you wanted to go out and get lots of craft beer in San Diego, you go to this festival, the Mission Valley Craft Beer Festival, I can name, many others. And we were like, well, we should do our own beer festival. So we got permission from and closed down the street out there at Grimm, where the main brewery location is in North Park. And we invited 20-ish breweries. We had some local, mostly local, some big name, lots of small names, and a few that we'd bring in from outside. Like I know we had Wilderness Brewing come out from Arizona, from Phoenix Marketplace. They came out, and that was super fun. But it was just a beer festival. But it was a lot of fun and different because it was adult. It was 21 up, no dogs, no in and out, and we had to have a separate license for the beer festival as the brewery location, and you couldn't bring beer between the two. So that was kind of tedious. We had to have like guard stationed at the door of the brewery,
Oh, man.
and then literally across the sidewalk at the festival grounds.
Oh, jeez.
It did allow us to do like some cool stuff, like a VIP area. We did
Sure.
we did casks and stuff like that in the VIP area, which was in the North Park Tasting Room. But the festival, because you had mentioned that it had changed. It's not only changed venues, but it's changed formats. Because it used to be, like I'm mentioning, a beer festival with some music. Like we had the side stage over there, and we'd have a band, maybe two. But that was like not the focus. The focus was the beer and the 20-something breweries that you could visit, and unlimited tasters and all that stuff. COVID hit. We canceled it for a year, and then we opened up Imperial Beach during all of the cancer treatment and stuff. We actually opened up 2 spots during the whole year of treatment, which was crazy. We opened up Walnut Creek and IB during that year, and those things were already underway. Which, to go back to that story real quickly, it was like I had to manage.
Oh, jeez.
The business to a certain extent, the openings to a great extent, and the family
and Keely's health.
And making
That's
sure that,
crazy.
So it was just anyway.
Oh my God.
We're through it. Just like Court said, the only way is through. So anyway, so we opened up. We had IB, and I was like, well, shoot, we should have Hessfest down here, and I wanted to do a street closure there. And I had a city council member on board with that. And he's like, yeah, we'll do that. And they had been closing down the street at various times during COVID to like have like people come out onto the street and because it's open air or whatever. And I thought, okay, well, this would be a layup. And then the city kind of got a little weird about it. And then I was like, that's fine. We'll just go back to North Park. But city manager called me. He knew that was on the table. And he's like, hey, before you go back to North Park, take a look at Pier Plaza Park, because the port built that for us to host events. And I was like, I don't know anything about Pier Plaza Park. I knew where it was. I'd been to it. I didn't know anything about it, right, in terms of renting it or whatever. So Andy Hall and I walked down there and looked at it. I think we had one of the council people with us too. And I was like, well, yeah, this place is awesome. Let's do that. So we switched the whole format. And which is more on brand, right? Because now it's all of our locations are family friendly and dog friendly, and so now we can do that and have a music festival, which I had always thought that would be really super cool to do. We'd loved going to Mammoth for Bluesapalooza, and this is not a mini Mammoth, but maybe someday, it's something. It's trending that direction, but it's a great spot. So now you get a concert on the beach.
It is awesome, and I know that's like that word is overused a lot, and it probably doesn't. It's not very descriptive to people who've never been there. But again, I get to be there on the day of, and then I get to look at all the footage that happens that I bring back here to the studio and look at and make all the stuff afterwards. And everyone's having a blast. Yeah. The bands are having a great time. The staff and the team are doing a great job. They're enjoying themselves on that day. You and your family look like you're having a good time that day. Yeah. But by the way, but all of the attendees are having a great time. There's people dancing. They're playing games. You got cornhole happening on the sand. You got food. You got a brand new beer release every year. We have volunteers from Oak who are helping pour and work. Like it has become its own. It like has its own life, and it takes on a life of its own.
Sure.
And everyone's having such a great time, and I always look forward to it every year. Now, that being my 3rd year, I'm like, I look forward to Hessfest every year. I'm like, okay, cool, when's it? Which Saturday is it going to be? And I'm always excited for it. And I'm once again excited for it again this year.
Well, you can't beat the venue.
The venue's amazing.
If you look at especially like the drone footage that we get, you're on the beach.
You're on the beach.
The Pacific Ocean as the backdrop. It's like, this is ridiculous. And a lot of times it's like, they're like pinch me moments. You're like, are you serious? We're doing this?
It is super cool because I don't know of a lot of things like that happening at Pier Park Plaza. So to your point, like, what do you mean you can rent out the park and we can, this is what the port decided that we should do this. Yeah. Well, so now you're actually carrying out the vision that was maybe created way before this. Yeah. And it's right there by the pier. I mean, it's by the iconic Imperial Beach sign. Like everybody knows like where it's going to be. Yep. And man, it's really a thing. It has become so big. I want to talk about this year's elements because you've like woven together all these things that you guys like and love and that the brand is in support of, like dogs and family and music and great beer and food and all that. So, like how much of these, like honest moment, Mike, how many of these things where you're like, hey, we should just add that. And then you said it like in one sentence and now it's become its thing. Like, hey, we should just have the cornhole tournament right there. And then now all of a sudden there's a cornhole tournament happening on the same place.
I mean, we are trying to pack a lot in there. We're not trying to be all things to all people, but we do want people to make sure that they're getting a great value for their money and having a great time while supporting great causes. I think that what's been awesome watching it transform, if you will, is like, again, you are on board for these last 3 years. We've got Kai, who's been on board for 2 years now, and just seeing the level of I wish I wish we had a way of capturing and cataloging the number of man hours, if you will, that take into putting this on, because it's wild.
Cumulatively, it's got to be in the thousands.
Oh, yeah,
it easily has to be there.
Well, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but I was like, we have a post Hessfest, we meet for about a month, like doing an after action report. And then we have like a 3-month break, and then we start working.
Start planning the next one.
You know, it's like this is what we do. We like, what's your brewery do? We do a music festival. Yeah. Oh, we also make beer. But no, it's such a great day, and it's such a great thing for the town of Imperial Beach too, which is having its own challenges, of course, with the water issues that we've had here in South Bay, in San Diego's coastline. So, you know, I mean, we heard it. We heard people testify actually at the city council meeting. They're like, why wouldn't you approve this festival? Because we have to go to the city council to get approval. They're like, this is like the most amazing event that Imperial Beach has, and it's the largest event. And this is like the one time when we can all gather together, because they've canceled many of the other great festivals like Sandcastles and things like that, right? So that's all those things have kind of gone by the wayside for whatever reason. I don't actually know the depth or understanding of what happened there. They're not around. And now we've stepped in and filled this void with, and Imperial Beach has got such great people, such a great community, and they obviously rally and they come out for the festival. It's become like, it's not just an Imperial Beach festival, obviously, but the majority of the people, 70% probably, are from 91932, and they roll in because that's what are you doing on the second Saturday of August? We're going to Hessfest.
Yeah, we're going to Hessfest. It's happening in my backyard. I'm going to be there.
Right.
Now, so this year we have another amazing lineup of bands.
Yeah.
So let's take a minute and let's talk about some of the bands that are coming this year.
All right. So the opener act is Morgan Leigh, who's a country star that plays here locally. She's all around town and doing tours, and came highly recommended. She's been on several TV stations, and of course, they're just doing her own shows around town. That's how we found out about her, actually, through TV station connections. Like, hey, do you have anybody? And it's like, oh, you got to get this gal out here. And we reached out to her, and she's like, heck yeah, that's amazing. PHT and Honky Tonk Nights. This again, another referral band. They're out of Ramona. They've been at every Imperial Beach Hessfest. They are country rockers. They're super fun, very patriotic. And super engaging. Like, Patrick gets out in the crowd. He's out there singing. He's microphone to people. It's bananas. He's super energetic. We've had him close out the show, actually, sometimes in years past. He's second act, though, this year. But a lot of fun. And he's always like, now, I know it's like, hey, can you do, yep. Before I can get the question out, he's like, yeah, I'm on board, which is great. Anytime
he walks off stage, I'm with my camera. I'm just following him. I'm walking through the crowd. He had last year's guitarist had a wireless pack, so he was off the stage too. Super and I'm like, cool. Man, they're just mixing in with everyone, dancing, having a good time. Yeah. It was so much fun.
Everybody's on their feet for his act. Yeah. And we're bringing back Sullivan. We missed him last year. He's in a band that's actually on a Warner Brothers label, and their band is insane, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the musicianship out of that band, the talent level is off the charts.
Yes.
We're really blessed to have them. And that was such a wild thing. Sully actually played at the North Park Hessfest.
Oh, really?
He did.
I don't think, okay, I'd never heard that part.
Yeah, so what happened was I got invited to go on some radio show with some guy, Sully. And I don't know him. I never heard of him.
Just some guy.
Whatever. And actually, I actually blew off the first one. I don't know if I was sick or I was at my brother's house, and I was like, oh, I can't make it. Can we reschedule? So I went back in for the rescheduled date, and I think he was on ESPN Radio or something doing a show for them at some point, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I went into the studio, and we're talking about the brewing industry. He's a business guy, the lead singer, Sully, and he, off mic, he's like, so what's going on? And I said, oh, we're just getting ready for this Hessfest thing that we're doing. He's like, what's that? And I said, oh, we just do this beer festival in North Park. And he's like, you have music there? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm in a band, right? And I'm like, I don't know anything about you. Like, no, I honestly have no idea who you are even right now. Like, I don't even know why we're doing this interview here. Like, I knew nothing about him. It was like I had zero information. I don't know. Maybe I should have done my research. He's like, well, dude, I'm in a great band. I got like, Herbie Hancock's guy and Tom Petty's guy and blah, blah, blah. And he's like naming off all these superstars, Eric Clapton, somebody's. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, we need to do like, like some philanthropic work for the band. It's kind of like our charter or whatever. So we'll play for free.
That's amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I'm signing you up right now. And
I did not know that part.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that as like that was their first introduction to working with you on Hessfest. Yeah.
So
that's super cool.
Yeah. So they were like the side stage was Sully.
Like, the side stage with all these professional players that are going to end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at some point, if they're not already. Yeah. That's crazy.
Isn't that wild? So anyway, so we've got Sully back. So he's headlining the show. He's in the third slot. I think he starts at like 2:45, and he's going to give us an hour and a half set. And then we have Jimmy's Buffet, Jimmy Buffett cover band.
I love that name, by the way, Jimmy's Buffet. I'm like, this is perfect.
Pretty clever.
That's a very clever name.
Yeah. So and then and now you're like tying the whole thing together, right? We're on the beach. You get Jimmy Buffett, and I don't know. It's gonna be a great time.
That's a really cool lineup for the day. We have great food vendors coming back again this year. And we also have we have like a vendor row as well. Yep. Other businesses that are going to be highlighting their own services and their own products selling there as well. And then we have a special beer coming out this year. So do you want to take a minute and talk about that for a second?
Are you talking about Randy?
I'm talking, the Shandy, Radler, Shandy. It's got this like mashup name that I continue to say wrong at every meeting I'm invited to.
Is it Randy Shadler?
I will see. That's the question. I don't know. Randy Shadler. I told Paul. I said it sounds like a WWE wrestler's name
because it's a Radler and a Shandy, sort of hybrid.
Yeah.
So I think that we came up with Randy Shadler. I think that's the name of it.
Sounds like a wrestler's name to me, Mike.
We can check the notes later. We'll allow the links in the description.
Yeah, the real name will be in the comment box below.
That's right. We just it's really interesting actually, the transformation in the beer industry, I would say, over the last 15 years of what made sense for an anniversary beer. I mean, early on, like I think Anna Unum, which was our first anniversary beer, was like an oaked Belgian IPA, which was really amazing. I think so. Anyway, I mean, but we were small format, right? We were selling 300 barrels of beer a year out of Miramar when we started, right?
300 a year?
That's so weird.
Compared to now, that's...
that's like, what's that, a week or two production?
That's a good 5-day week.
So, anyway, but it was like bigger, better, like how many, 10% this, or Imperial Stout that, or whatever. Yeah. And just, but we've also seen the market trend towards lower ABV. I don't know if it's healthier. It certainly, gets you less buzzed if you're drinking 3%, 4% beers, and that seems to be, at least right now, where the market is, which is great. We love making lagers, and we make some really killer ones. So, but it's a hot day out in the sun. It's August 9th on the beach. You're going to be under sun for the most part full day because there's only limited shade there. And so we came up with the idea of just making like a nice Radler or Shandy or something like that. I'm not sure which one it is.
Radler.
There may be technical definitions, and we've never really been like worried about technical definitions. But we're making Randy Shadler, so we're taking a light lager and we're putting lemon in it, and it'll be like a 3%. 3.5% maybe beer.
I think so far the only two people have said it right. Paul, who made it, and Kai, who's responsible for making sure everyone says it right.
Yeah, that could be.
And then there's you and me saying this now.
We're in the ballpark, and that's
we're close enough.
Exactly.
We're in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
we're in the neighborhood. If you're in the neighborhood on Saturday, August 9th, you got to come by Hessfest. Hey, that was a good segue.
Right.
So this is a family-friendly event. I've seen a lot of people bring their kids out. They bring their dogs, put the beach blanket out. They bring their beach chair, a little, an umbrella of a suitable size umbrella.
Yeah.
Don't bring your own pop-up tent, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a flat lawn, so don't block the view. Right.
Yeah, be considerate of the people that you're there with. Everyone's there to have a good time together. Mm-hmm. Mike, the people that want to get tickets for Hessfest, what's the best way for them to do that right now?
If you are local and you're in Imperial Beach, just walk into the tap room. You save the fees, so just walk into Mike Hess Brewing there on Seacoast. For everybody else, just go to MikeHessBrewing.com. As soon as you hit that website, before even the age verification pops up, you'll have a pop-up on buying Hessfest tickets. Click there. scroll through, there's several different ticket types. There's general admission, there's general admission with beer, so you can prepay for some beers. You get tickets that you can redeem for beer. There's superfan tickets. So there's a variety. And then what's to your family friendly point, 9 and under, free. So, and no charge for dogs either. So 9 and under and dogs free.
9 and under and dogs.
I don't know if we specifically called that out, but just to be clear.
Whether it's your kids, your dogs, or your dogs you treat like kids, if they're 9 and under, they're free. Yeah. Dogs of all ages. We'll put it that way. Dogs of all ages.
That's right.
Before we break from here, though, I want to make sure we make a pit stop and talk specifically about Oak and specifically about 0800, because those are both this year's recipients and beneficiaries of the money raised this year. So let's quickly talk about both Oak and 0800.
Okay, cool. Oncology and kids, we found out about them going through the treatment with Keeley. What they do is that they put on free camps, so it's free to the families or the kids. So all the donations that we provide, that everybody else is contributing to their organization, essentially pays for those families or those kids to be able to go to a camp out in East County, San Diego. They've been doing it for more than 40 years. It's called Camp Reach for the Sky. The camps like the Keeley went to in February of 2019 are for kids who are going through cancer treatment, any type of cancer, at any stage of their treatment. They go to camp together. Keeley was going through, while she was in chemotherapy, she had just gotten a round of chemo. She had a 0 ANC level, which means that there was no white blood cells, so she was susceptible. She still went to camp. She actually rode on the bus up sitting next to Bernie, who's the CEO of Oncology and Kids, coincidentally, and that was really amazing. So that's how they formed this bond. And all of the camp counselors out there, like Bernie, have camp names. So she never knew that he was Bernie. She always thought he was camp name, whatever, his alias, if you will. But I think that parents were probably allowed to visit. We did not, but we got pictures of her like on a climbing wall. She's like 20 feet up in the air, or whatever, her little bald head poking out from beneath her beanie because she was, going through chemo. Of course, she had no hair, and just transformative. And so they have camps for the kids who are going through cancer. They have camps for the families of the kids who are going through the cancer, and then they also have a bereavement camp for families who've lost somebody to cancer. In fact, that camp is coming up shortly after Hessfest, and so our Hessfest donations, I know, will go to pay for 2, 3, 4 families or whatever to be able to. We'll fund their trip to go to that camp for that, which is it's amazing and super important.
That's been such a special moment watching you be able to give Bernie the oversized golf check every year of how much the contributions are. And I know that we have a really good milestone as far as this year's contribution is looking. So I'm really excited to also record that. I always love that part to show the aftermath, but the real impact and the measure of what the cumulative contributions of ticket sales, beer sales, sponsorship money, donations. I know we had someone donate a $3,000 check last year, like on the spot. That was great. And that was a staff member's grandmother, from what I recall. Again, back to the whole point where the team is super invested, and even the team members' families. Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's talk about 0800 really quick, too, because I know some people are not familiar with 0800 at all, and this is their first year with us at Hessfest. Right. So let's talk about 0800 and what they're doing and how we're going to be able to help them.
So 0800 has a different mission. They help veterans who are transitioning out of military life and into civilian life. There's many aspects to that. But there is, I think we talked about it, alluded to it earlier in this conversation about people trying to figure out what their purpose is, right? And that sometimes can cause mental anguish. And then if you tie that to people who have gone through the war experience and now are suffering from PTSD, there's a lot of guys, obviously, sadly, who are messed up from having, they were gunfighters for 20 years or fewer. And now they come out and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I know what I can do. I'm pretty good at that, but I'm not doing that anymore. And there's a lot of mental health issues with that. So they have a very specific focus on things like housing, food security, but particularly mental health. They're very, I would say that they're very supportive of and in the world of helping people figure out the mental health aspect of it so that they don't take themselves out of the community. The veteran suicide rate right now is something between 30 and 40 guys a day, or guys and gals, that are committing suicide. And that is obviously ridiculous and tragic. And 0800 is a small San Diego-based organization, small but mighty. They're doing a lot of great work. They have non-medical staff that just work directly one-on-one with veterans. If you need help, these people can help you.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about that for a lot of reasons. Our own track record and history working with active duty military and veterans as well, and a long line of family members of ours who have served in conflicts all the way back from World War II to current. So thank you for doing that and making that part of this year's Hessfest 15, the 15th year. So with the name Hessfest 15, so you have shirts from Hessfest 6 to 14. You got to have a new one this year.
Yep.
Maybe you can just keep it to like 1 or 2. You don't need 10.
No,
You don't need 10 Hessfest 15 shirts?
No, probably not. Yeah, I'll probably grab 2 and then figure it out.
All right. Well, my last question, what are you most excited for this year about Hessfest 15? I know there's a lot of things you're probably looking forward to. What's one thing that you're most excited about?
This year is a little bit different from the fundraising standpoint. And so I'm excited mostly about kind of the post-check, the after-action report, if you will, to actually see how well we did. We'll probably get 1,000, 1,200 people out there, and hopefully it's a nice warm day and there's lots of, thirst being quenched because we donate all of the beer money into the kitty as well. But in addition to that, we brought sponsors on this year. We've had 4 great organizations step up and write a big check for us, and that money goes directly into the contribution that we'll make to the beneficiaries. We also had we had like a dozen vendors that we work with that gave smaller donations, but they're sponsoring the umbrellas. So we're going to have, we mentioned shade, so we're going to have 18 shade umbrellas, like 9-foot umbrellas there. They're co-branded, and we're making a little bit of money on each one of those umbrellas. So all of that goes into the pool. So I know it's going to be a great time. I'm very excited to see the band lineup. I actually personally have some old friends who are coming into town. I've got actually an old Navy buddy of mine who I haven't seen since Hessfest 2. He's coming out. So I've got some personal reasons to be excited about I haven't seen you in a decade. But I'm really excited to see what our net number is. The Hessfest is so important, and I think that what we're doing is providing such a great fun time, but also raising some money for some great organizations. I want to see what that number looks like.
I'm excited for that too. I love that you had folded in some corporate sponsors this year, as well as the umbrella sponsorship. That's fantastic. And again, all the fact that all of the revenue goes towards towards the causes, I think is another just reflection of your and Linda's commitment to those 2 organizations, but also as a posture in the business community that you're going to stand on that for the benefit of others. And I really, really respect that a lot. So thank you for doing that.
Of course.
And thank you for coming by. I hope that you've enjoyed your time here in our little corner of the internet. I appreciate you coming by and talking to me about Hessfest. And for all of you who have never heard of Hessfest, I hope you learned something great today. And if you are watching this right now, and you need to get tickets to Hessfest still, this is also a great way to go out with your friends, family, neighbors, maybe bring some coworkers, or maybe use this as a client gift and take out some of your favorite clients if you're a business person and you want to treat your favorite clients to an awesome day, listening to some great music, enjoying great beer and awesome food with your friends and family. That would be a great way to do that too. You can look at the link in the description box below. That's going to be MikeHessBrewing.com, where you can get your tickets for Hessfest 15. Mike, thank you so much for coming by. Truly an honor having you here today, and I really respect everything you're doing.
It's great to chat. Thank you.
Thank you.